just like your showroom here, like coming into a space, like I said, like when I came in, I was like, I feel welcomed. Like it has a nice warm, and so that's how you want to feel.
Makes you want to stay a while.
Exactly.
You don't feel like, oh.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Amber here. And I'm so excited because today we have a special guest. I'm so excited to be talking with Malia today from Model Home Furnishings here in the Frisco area. And so what I wanted to be able to do and provide for folks is just the opportunity to understand more about what it goes into furnishing a home and taking a house and turning it into a real home. Because I think a lot of times you get really excited about getting the new house, and especially here in Texas where the houses are huge, you're like, oh, this is great. I'm going to be able to do all these things. And then you get into that house, they give you the keys, and you feel really overwhelmed because it's like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with all this space? And so that's where having a designer is really important, just to give you vision. A lot of times, a lot of folks see that space and that overwhelm causes them to like either not do anything, and so people wind up looking house poor, even though they're not. Or you have really dinky furniture, and it's like, this doesn't fit. So really having the expertise of a designer, I think, is really important. So I wanted to just kind of talk with Malia today and just like provide just some resources as you're thinking about purchasing a home and or relocating to an area where you're going to be able to purchase a bigger home, that you would be able to have some guidance around how do you turn that house into a home where it feels like you, it's your style, and you have some support in doing that. So Malia, thank you so much for hanging out with me for a little bit. So my first question really is just around what got you started in design?
The store started, there was two sisters in Idaho, my mom and my aunt, and one of them sold real estate and worked for the builders. The other one was an interior designer. So in 2008, when everything went left, builders were having a really hard time getting their inventory homes sold. And so my mom, who worked for the builders, was like, okay, well, let me get my sister, who's a designer, and see if we can stage these and maybe they'll sell. Every home sold, and very fast at that. So they kind of got to thinking this would be a really good plan, hadn't really put it into action, and then relocated to Texas just a few years later. And that's how we got started here. They kind of were like, why are we working with, builders and models, and we can work with the general public and offer those really good discounts.
I would think too that it's probably like the builder, not to say that they're not warm and friendly, but like working with directly with customers is probably
so different. And it's more exciting being a designer, working with different projects. Every project's new. Every person has what's special to them and what they love. So really getting to curate their look for them. So I got started basically by growing up in the business and just being around it. I thought about teaching, and then I was like, I really want to teach. I really do like homes. I was the kid that redecorated their room every week, and everyone was tired of it. But that kind of just led me into thinking, okay, I really am interested in design. So that's when I got my start. I went to school. I worked here for a few years. It's just an admin, and then kind of got my start with design.
I'm so jealous because I told Malia this story before, but I'm gonna do the clip notes of it. But I originally was when I was in my undergrad, I was going to be an interior designer. That's what I went in for.
Okay.
And so I went in, and my very first interior, little freshman, 19 years old, went into my first class, and the instructor was really neat. Like he had us working on a project, and I was really proud of it. I was like, oh, I killed it. And so his assessment of everybody in the class project, he would have everybody put their work on the wall. And then anything that he didn't like or he felt like didn't meet the requirements, he would literally yank it and throw it on the floor. And so you start hearing like all these sniffling because people are starting to cry. And so I had worked on this project all weekend and I thought it was good. He got to mine, started doing the critique, ripped it apart, and then yanked it, put it on the floor. I was like, I just was like, maybe interior design is not for me. Maybe it's a hobby. So that was rough. But I was like you when I was a kid too. Like I kept rearranging my room. Yes. I would make my own little artwork and attempt to frame it and stuff like that. Because I do think there is something about just like your showroom here, like coming into a space, like I said, like when I came in, I was like, I feel welcomed. Like it has a nice warm, and so that's how you want to feel.
Makes you want to stay a while.
Exactly.
You don't feel like, oh, I can't sit there, I might hurt it.
Right. You feel like you can really be at peace in a space. So right now, there's a lot of interest, and I'm curious on if you're finding this too. Is like a lot of interest in like sustainability when it comes to furnitures and the fabrics and things like that. Are you seeing more and more clients that are interested in that?
Yes, I actually am seeing a lot of people that are interested in it. I do think there is a lot of curious minds who also don't really understand what sustainable design is. And so basically it's where we seek to reduce the negative impact on the environment by improving our building performance. So there's a lot of ways actually for people to kind of assess if something is sustainable. You can do what they call an LCA, which is a life cycle analysis where you're looking into the materials that's being used, the manufacturing, the packaging, the distribution, the use of it. And then also what comes into play is what you do when you're done with it. That also has an impact on the environment.
And so how it's like, the general public, like that's why I feel like they need a designer, right?
That's why, and that does lead into why they need a designer, because we kind of know all the background in that. I do think it is on the designer, it's our responsibility to educate people on sustainable options. You know, those are spaces where a lot of people are gathering, they often have to replace things. Right. So that, to me, is where the most, I think, sustainable design should be used.
It's in commercial.
It's in commercial, but it does improve the quality of your living in your home as well. I mean, it affects the air quality, everything. So,
we were talking about allergies earlier. So that's a good example. If you have allergies, you might want to do certain types of, or even like if you, I mean, this is probably going too deep maybe, but I'm just thinking we were talking about allergies earlier, but like, if you have certain skin condition like eczema, psoriasis, things like that,
there's certain products that can rub you the wrong way.
Right. Yeah. And so you're not like, if I'm a person that has one of those conditions, like my nephew has it, and if I'm a person that has one, I'm not thinking around like, oh, is this fabric going to be okay? I'm just like, oh, it's cute. Right.
Yes, exactly.
So,
and it's more too than just the furniture. It obviously can come down to like the flooring, carpet, window treatment. Right. I mean, there's a ton of different aspects that can be sustainable.
It's like the whole space that you're living in. So it's everything that comes into contact with your body, essentially.
You can go on about sustainable design forever. I mean, there's just so many things that play a part.
So my next question is, I'm guilty of doing this. And so I'm going to tell on myself a little bit. So we're in this age of online shopping. And so I would say, to be very honest with you, I'm going to say that probably 90% of the things in my house right now, I got on Amazon. What's the other one? The Wayfair. Yes. So I'm very guilty of like, oh, that looks about right. Right. We could ship it and they have the little things now where you can say, see it in your room. Yes. See it in your room. So I'm like, oh, I'm sure it's fine. So like from when we talk about the people that do things from online, is there any way that like somebody could go in and kind of confidently shop? Is there any recommendations you might have?
I would say a designer is really important when it comes to that, just because we, at least at our store, I can't speak for every furniture store, but we do get a lot of education on our products. So at least 2 times a year, we're going to the World Furniture Markets and getting to see, the furniture shows, and we see almost every product that we carry, and we have a chance to sit in it, feel it. So we are very honest with our customers. If something's really cute, but it's not comfortable, I will tell you that it's not that comfortable, but it will achieve the look. So it really does just come down to, do you trust who you're purchasing it from? Even when it comes to Wayfair, I mean, on Amazon, read those reviews. You really do have to do your homework. So online shopping is easier, I would say, but also it does have a lot of homework. So you do have to do a lot of research on the product. Even for instance, buying, say, a chandelier that has crystals from us, and then you might see the same one. It might be $6.99 through us and $2.99 through Amazon, and you're like, oh, this is a steal.
Right.
But then you get it, and the crystals that are on the chandelier may be plastic, whereas ours were glass. So there's little quality changes that you just want to be aware of.
Right. I had somebody obviously come in
Yeah.
professionally to install it, but what I didn't know is like, I thought it came out the box.
Ready?
Yeah.
Did it have crystals?
Yeah. No, I had to put them all on there.
Yeah.
I didn't know. It took me like 3 hours to put I was like, okay, again, if I had a designer or somebody that's just not,
yeah.
Because I'm thinking, oh, I'm just gonna throw this up here, and you should have saw the guy that, like, he's our friend now, because it was such a spectacle when he came to my house, because I had two.
Yeah.
I had two, and all of them had like little crystals and chandeliers. And I thought it's a lot. He came, I remember, Steve, if you're watching, I really appreciate you. So he came at like 8 a.m, and he was expecting that he was going to be leaving by like probably noon. He's like, oh, you only have 2 lights, no problem.
Yeah.
He's like, you didn't tell me there were chandeliers. Mm-hmm. He's like, I thought they were fans. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, is that a problem? He was like, so he had me. He's like, listen, I'm happy to put them up, but you're going to put the crystals on. So I was sitting on the floor.
Trying to put them all on?
Yes. 3 hours. It was just 3 hours just to put the crystals on. And then another, I would say all total that day, I probably spent 5 hours.
Yeah.
Because one had more crystals, so it was probably 3 hours on that one. The other one had, he was able to help me with the other one, so it didn't take as long. But man, like,
I've had to put one together before too, and I'm really grateful that our manufacturer started just shipping them with it already on.
Oh, I don't know. I think it like, because to me, design is an experience.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And so when you're like, again, every time I look at that chandelier, I think of myself sitting on the floor, like
putting in all the work. Yes.
And I'm never
feel like we're never taking that down.
I'm never taking it down. I'm probably not going to ever clean it. It's high enough to where, like, if there's dust, like,
we won't see it.
Yeah, nobody's going to notice. Yeah. It's fine. Really, it is about the whole experience. So just really, not only just the education piece, but really, like, I think, because I watch a lot of HGTV, and
I'm used to that kind of installers come in, the project's done, it's all accessorized. Right. Yes, that's what we strive to achieve with our in-home designs, is that whole magic moment.
Right.
And it is nice because the installers will come out, but a lot of times I know when people are purchasing things here and there and just taking them, the legwork can be a lot. Yeah. So it's really important to, make sure and find out what is the assembly. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What is my job once I receive the beautiful product?
Yes. Assembly required. And actually, if we can talk a little bit about like what your process is, like as you're working with clients, like how does that, what do you have to start with the consultation and then kind of get a sense, or?
So with our in-home design consultations, we do also have a complimentary in-store option where you can come in, bring pictures and measurements of your space, and we'll sit down with you in store and knock out what we can. Then there's the in-home option where you maybe just have a little bit more that needs to be done, empty rooms, a bunch of spaces that need filled, that sometimes it's just easier for a designer to come visually see it. Yeah. So that's where we'll come out. We'll take our pictures, measurements of the space. The fee for that is $300, just depending on location. There can be a trip fee added every now and then. And then talking about our budget. And that's our first meeting where we really kind of get to talk about the expectations for the project, when we think things will be complete. That way, we can set those expectations up front. Right. And we'll come back to the showroom. We do all of the homework, putting together design boards, space planning, the renderings, everything that you'd need to be able to confidently purchase a design without physically seeing it. So those mood boards will pull samples so you actually can feel the materials of what you're purchasing. That kind of helps you a little bit to, okay, this is what the sofa is going to feel like. Mm-hmm. There's no obligation with us, so you don't have to purchase anything. But if you do, there's a 10% design fee. So that's how the designer gets paid. And that's just based off your merchandise total. With all of our in-home consultations, you will get a free protection program that protects your furniture for 5 years. Oh, so amazing. Yes, with all of our in-stores, that's an additional add-on you can add. Mm-hmm. But with the in-homes, it's just complimentary. So everything you get from us will have a 5-year warranty behind it, with a service company that will come out and service if anything is damaged ever, or if we notice, hey, I spilled and I can't get this stain out.
Right. Little Johnny comes with the red marker. It's like, I love the new living room.
Yeah, and service you. Once all the selections are made and we place that order, we'll give you an estimation of the timeline. We try to give bi-weekly updates just to let you know, hey, this came in, this is looking like it's shipping right now, or this is, keep you updated. Yeah. And then the install process is my favorite, because we'll come out with the moving company, they're white glove movers, so they've been with us the entire time we've been here, all 11 years. Yeah. We love them. They're great. They'll assemble everything, remove all the boxes. The designer's there to tell them where to place it exactly where we want it so that, you're really getting the look that you paid for. We just bought this house and now we have to go buy furniture and that can end up costing quite a bit. Yeah. So you want to make sure you're getting products that you're going to love for years to come.
Right. That's, like you talked about sustainability, but sustainability in terms of, is this something that's a little bit more classic?
Yes. That
I'm going to still love in 5 years and I'm not going to want to, redo the whole house again. Yes. That actually leads me into my next question. And so when we talk about as you mentioned, for folks that are maybe interested in putting their home on the market, are there strategies or advice tips that you would give folks that are planning to, basically wanting the most appeal for their property?
I would say this sounds very obvious, but a lot of people forget about the closets. So the closet rule is 60-40, 60% full, 40% empty. It gives the person the ability to envision their things in it, but also not feel worried that they're not going to have enough space. Right. So even if you think no one's opening every closet door, they are, and they want to see, can I fit all my things in here? So really making sure it's not cluttered, really depersonalizing the home, taking out, just because you love the Dallas Cowboys doesn't mean everybody else does. Right. So take out those personal flags or those, memorabilia, family photos. A lot of times people don't want to get rid of those items, but it really does cloud the mind of the person who's hoping to purchase that home because they just can't envision it. Mm-hmm. They only see your things. Right. And then also don't overlook the garage because a lot of times people are looking in the garage. And if it seems super cluttered, they're going to, again, get that thought process of this house has not enough space. Yes. They can't even park their car in the garage. Mm-hmm. And garages are just getting really popular for gyms and little workspaces. It's another living space now. Exactly. Yeah. So the garage is really important too.
I've seen it where and especially when if you're a very colorful person and you like yellow and purple and all that, that's great as long as you're living in the home.
Yep. When you're there.
While you're there. But the minute, one of the things that I try to share with folks too is that, and really drive home is there has to be a psychological shift from this is my home to now this is a property. Yep. This is right. So that's, and so what you said earlier around depersonalizing it, I think that actually does help a lot with the de-attachment process because you're going to need to go through that. You're selling the property. Yeah. And so when you start taking the photos down and it starts feeling a little less personalized, I think that's baby stepping your way into, okay, I'm moving on to the next.
This isn't mine anymore.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly. I think that's so important to do. I think a lot of times that process of undesigning.
Yeah. And it's an emotional process. A lot of people, it makes them really sad. This is a house they've lived in probably for a little bit. Mm-hmm. Even if they haven't, they may have made investments in the home that they really loved and that made them happy. But again, to sell it, you really can't be about what you love. It's got to be what's going to sell.
Right.
So keeping it as blank, keeping it as blank slate as you can really does help. A lot of people, colorful spaces can actually make them feel a little bit of that anxiety. Yeah. Some people love it, but other people, it does have that kind of effect on them. Yeah. So you don't know who's walking through. Right. So it's just better to play it safe.
So listen, earlier today, I was talking to a colleague of mine and she has a listing. This is just a funny story. Aside, roll with me for a second. She has a listing and this particular house, the owner breeds snakes. Oh. And they have a room in the house that is full of snakes. Now they're not just floating around. They're in cages. Okay. Yes. But you mentioned that. I was like, oh my God, the story she told me this morning just came to mind. I was like, I can't
even picture myself in a home if there are snakes.
No, because my mind is thinking, okay, what if one of them got out and you didn't know?
What if there's a baby?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So it's just again, declutter with animals and your personal belongings. Is the moral of the story here. So we're talking about spaces, and so one of the things that sometimes we find, especially in like, I don't know that you see this as much in some of the newer homes, and maybe some of the older homes where maybe they're built in the 1950s, and so the floor plans are definitely very different because people lived in their house differently that way. Like you don't have these open floor plans, so you have more specific rooms, and you may have some awkward layouts or somebody didn't add on corners. Exactly. So if somebody's working with a space like that, is there any kind of strategy or go-to thing that you try to think through as you're looking at a space like that that's a little awkward?
Well, for designers, it does come pretty naturally because we do know how to space plan. Yeah. So it's really easy to look at a space and say, okay, I know exactly what would fit there. Mm-hmm. And even if you need a little bit of time to think about it, we'll get to it. Yeah. But I think if you're just a typical homeowner or someone, who's purchasing a home, really going through the blue tape method is my favorite. So if you kind of already know what kind of furniture you want to put in there, or you're not sure, or you're going to go purchase, blue tape out what those dimensions are. See how does that feel? And the blue tape is just so helpful because it stands out on the floor. I mean, even on the wall, if you're taping out a painting, it helps you get a feel for what that presence is going to look like, and how much space it's going to take. So I think the blue tape method is probably the best method when it comes to those trickier spaces. Before you purchase things, make sure you've taped it out and you know what it's going to look like, exactly where you're going to place it. Right.
Like I had heard that like one of the things, like if it's possible, like an ideal state is you never really want the back of a furniture facing when you walk in. Yep. Is that a thing?
Yes. Yeah. Typically you don't want to close off a room. So doing, say, the entryways like this, and we've got an L-shaped sectional. Yeah. I'm walking into the back. It doesn't feel very inviting to even sit down. Right. So yeah. And just for traffic control, that's not the best. You'd want that L to be facing out.
Because I think some people can't articulate. They know it when they see it, right? Mm-hmm. But they can't necessarily articulate, this is what I like. So the Frizz thing is amazing.
It's really helpful to kind of be able to go through, we show them multiple spaces. Yeah. Which one do you gravitate more towards? Different types of chairs, that way you can really get into the client's head. That's at least what we do here. Yeah. So even there's style quizzes you can take online. Yeah. So if you're just doing it at home by yourself and you don't know which way to go, take a style quiz. It will probably help you at least narrow down what you like. The exact.
So you have something to category. Jump off on. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, question for you. Speaking of that, I'm thinking about a lot of folks that are coming into the area, or just people that are already here that are purchasing home. A lot of them are going to be building, and so they have the opportunity to go to like the design center and pick out all the things. Is that something that you all
we can go along too? Yeah, we've done that in the past. Actually, a lot of our clients are new home builders, so yes, which I didn't mention, but we also store furniture. So we have storage, and since a lot of those times, dates get pushed back.
My next question is around, you talked a little bit about clients who are maybe selling their home. And you talked about the homes that when we first started, about the homes that were not selling. Yep. And then you all went in and staged them. Yep. So I think I know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask you anyway. So somebody that's considering selling their home and they're trying to decide whether or not it makes sense to invest in staging, what would you say?
I would say definitely invest. Staged homes sell faster and they sell for more, because a lot of times people actually do want to purchase the furniture that's in the home. So that's great, and that works out. And then also, if it has a tricky floor plan, it helps people then be able to envision how they could live there. And then also, on top of that, if you can't go this route of staging, having a designer that can put together renderings. I walked through a home just last week, and I thought it was so cool that they had these renderings that were on the walls of what could be. So that's something that shouldn't be as expensive as staging. And that's a more affordable way to kind of accomplish staging without staging. Right. Putting those renderings in each room.
Right. So people can get well, here's the thing too, is if you're someone that is selling your existing home, depending on where you are, at least in the DFW area, chances are great you're going to be competing with model homes. Right? Yeah. So they're used to seeing is this beautifully designed and it smells lovely and all these things. Yep. And they're going to compare your home with that. And so you want to obviously just put your best foot forward so you can get the best price, optimize the price for your home.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of staging.
Yes. I am going to go into my last question. Okay. In my mind, designers walk into the room and it's like, I don't know, like the Matrix where you just visually, you just see where all the things, is that a thing? Like, how do you, like, for somebody who doesn't know where to start, you know, obviously we would advise them to get a designer so that we can at least help them visualize. But if you're somebody that's like, I don't know if I can do the designer right now, when you're initially approaching a space, what are some of the things that you're like, okay, how can I bring this space alive? Like, or are there certain things that you're like our go-tos for how to create the space?
I would say I love plants personally. So I think that really can add life to a space. When I work with my clients, I do ask, you know, like I said, what are we keeping and what are we replacing? Sometimes you just need a refresh. Sometimes there are really good pieces in your space. You just aren't using them properly, or maybe everything around it is kind of bringing it down.
Yeah. What I'm noticing in the model homes is like they use 3 colors or something and they just keep repeating them in every, is that kind of how that works?
A lot of people are doing that, and that's the rule of 3. So that's even when it comes down to hardware or, you know, your kitchen. So stainless steel is not going anywhere, but people are going to have stainless steel appliances. But when you're getting into, you know, your knobs and your faucets, those we can mix around. So that's the same rule of 3. Where you can have 3 metals in each room, 3 colors in each room. But I do think to make it cohesive, kind of sticking to a palette. And it's just like brands do when they're creating, you know, their branding. Find that palette. It can be, you know, however many colors you want it to be, but just make sure that it's throughout the home. But I do love the rule of 3 for that. So, and people who are scared to bring in colorful touches, my best advice would be, if you want to, but you're scared, start with your pillows. Start with art. Like, start with your little accents and then go from there. But those are easy replaceable items that, you know, we didn't have to break the bank for. So we're not super mad if next year we don't like purple. So
we're not painting walls and incurring costs from that, and all we're doing is, here's another thing that like I didn't recognize that you can do, and this is so the DIY in me, but like, so like even if you didn't like the, like I forgot.
And all of them usually they come with zippers. So you just unzip it. You can order those on Amazon.
Thank you so much for the time. What I want to make sure folks know how to get in touch with you all. So what's the best way to, if they want, they're coming, either they're relocating here, already live here, or they're just wanting to get design service. How do they get in touch with you?
You can give us a call. I can put all our information if you want to put it in.
I'll put it in the comments.
I'll give her the address and the phone number, but we are open 7 days a week. So during the week, we're open from 10:30 to 3. You're always free to come in and stop by. On the weekends, we're open 11 to 5, Sunday 12 to 4. So those hours are all listed online, but just come in. We're not pushy here. So we really just want to see what can we do to help you. And I always tell people, I have so many clients that still come in. We've already furnished their house. It's done. And they're like, I just wanted to get some ideas. I just want to get inspired. So if you want to get inspiration, even just stop in then. But yeah, we like to treat people here like their family. We're not your typical salesperson. We're more see you as a friend and family, like I said. So we're just here to help. But don't be scared to come in. Just come on in.
Please don't be scared to come in, because I'm telling you, as soon as I walked in the door, it feels like it's just very warm and welcoming, and much like your family, and like everything matches here. If you yourself are not a designer, you really should get in touch with Malia, and because you need that. Sometimes you need that vision to help you see what that space could be. And there's nothing like those HGTV moments.
I was also talking to my mom about the impulsiveness of everyone these days. So a lot of times, you know, we see something online and we're like, oh, it's good, I need it right now, and then we'll buy it. And it's like, you didn't even think about how is it going to fit in the space? What are we going to do around it? And so then that's where things start looking a little hodgepodge, college dormy. We don't want that look. Let's try to avoid it. We'll get you the furniture when you need it, but don't make those impulsive decisions because you generally people regret those.
That late night Amazon shop, do not do furniture. Like just
I'm
don't
one to add everything to the cart at night, and I just delete and restart the next day.
Right, right. Because to me, I don't know about you, but the evening version of me versus the daytime version of me is a little different. Because the evening one is like tired. I have very low discipline at that point in time, and so I'm clicking on things that don't make any sense to purchase, but I've gotten them. And anyway, that's going to do us for this episode. Thank you so much for joining. I'm going to make sure that have all the contact details for Model Home Furnishings here in Frisco and how to get in touch with Malia. So that way, as you're preparing for your next chapter in your new home, you know how to get in touch with them and make sure that you actually have some guidance around how to turn that house into a home. So with that, I think we're done. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And we'll see y'all in the next video.
Bye.